Hey, it's Monday. That means it's time to answer your questions about copywriting, marketing, business building, and more. I'm Roy Furr. This is Breakthrough Marketing Secrets, Mailbox Monday edition. And I'll tell you what, I have this spreadsheet that's full of hundreds of questions. So when you submit your questions, there's a link in the description, by the way. When you submit your questions, when you ask me your questions, they go straight into the spreadsheet. And normally I scroll to the bottom for like the latest questions, but one near the top jumped out at me. It's one that I got a while back. I haven't answered it yet. And it was just how to write persuasive headlines. Person didn't even give a name or anything. It's kind of a bad question because it's short and not detailed, and those qualities of being able to be specific with your questions and add details and add enough for me to grab onto to make it more specific to your situation, well, that's what makes things better questions. So something like how to write persuasive headlines is not a very good question. That said, I know a lot of copywriters want to write better headlines, need to write better headlines. David Ogilvy said 10 times as many people read your headline as read the copy. I've seen demonstrations where, for example, a newspaper, all of the headlines are blacked out, and hand it to somebody and you say, which articles do you want to read? Well, I don't know which articles I want to read because the headlines are covered up, right? And that's the power of a headline. They help our prospects, our readers, our market choose to engage with our message or not. And writing a good headline can significantly increase the pulling power of your ad, your email, your landing page, your whatever, right? Because that's what pulls people into the message. So I'm going to answer it today. How to write one great headline. Some headline writing tips for copywriters. And don't forget, I can answer your question if you submit it through the Ask Roy Your Question link below. And if you want more copywriting, marketing, and entrepreneurship tips, make sure you like and subscribe, and you'll get more episodes from me. These are the proven direct response marketing, copywriting, and entrepreneurship success strategies you can use today to write your own ticket and create the life you want. I am Roy Furr, and this is Breakthrough Marketing Secrets. Now, here's today's breakthrough. All right, before we dive in, today's episode is sponsored by something you can get for free. A while back, I created this 13 essential copywriting skills video series. And, this is something where I probably could have put a decent price tag on it. I probably could sell it to you for at least $100. But I chose not to. I chose to give it away, and the link is in the description. If you want to sign up, you can get one video per day sharing one essential copywriting skill per day. The link is in the description. It'll be the first one there for you, 13 essential copywriting skills. If you're a copywriter, if you want to be, well, that's a great place to go to lay the foundation for effective copywriting. All right, so let's talk specifically about headlines for copywriters, right? So the number one job of your headline, and the real reason that I picked this question is well, I'll get to the number one job of the headline in just a second. The real reason that I picked this question is the word persuasive in the middle of it. They asked how to write persuasive headlines. What persuasion, I'll ask you, do you expect to have happen in your headline? What persuasion do you expect to have happen in your headline? Do you expect someone to buy? They read your headline, they're like, take my money, right? Just from the headline? Are they going to give you money just because of whatever you write in the headline? Is that going to be what persuades them? Well, think again. If that's what you're thinking, think again. The headline's job is not to persuade. And so how to write persuasive headlines? Maybe that's not necessarily what you want to go for, okay? The headline's job is just to get them to read, specifically to get them to read the next sentence or, the subheadline or the first sentence of the body copy, right? The headline is just to pull in readership. And so you could call that a persuasion job, right? You could call that a persuasion job, but when you think about it like, oh, my headline has to convince somebody that they need to buy my product in the headline, right? That's what I think of when I think of persuasion in the context of copywriting. The headline is just the ad for the ad. You need to give enough information and a promise of what's below that they want to keep going into your message in whatever media it is. And by the way, your headline could be just the first line. If it's an audio script or a video script, the headline could be what comes out of your mouth first, right? Or it could be, I don't know, it could be a whole mix of, it could be the subject line of an email. It could be the first line of a Facebook ad. It could be whatever the first piece of language that your prospect encounters. That is your headline. So in the context of this, like the number one job of your headline is to get readership, not necessarily to persuade. I'm not trying to teach you how to write a persuasive headline. I'm trying to teach you how to write a great headline that is going to get someone to like keep reading through your message. So in the context of that, I would say that the number one thing you can remember is my ABC headline formula. Now, I've taught this before. I'll probably teach it again. This is not a template or fill in the blank. It's what your headline actually has to do, right? You can accomplish these three goals represented by ABC in headlines using whatever formula, whatever language, whatever. The superficial details don't matter. What matters is that you check off these three boxes. Okay, so A stands for audience, B stands for benefit, and C stands for curiosity. And the more effectively you can check off these three boxes, and I'll tell you how to do that in just a minute, the better your headline is going to be. So number one, audience. Or A, audience. Does my audience know this is for them? If I have this headline just on a piece of paper and a member of the target market, let's say I have it sitting in front of me on the table, and a member of the target market is walking by and they glance over my shoulder just long enough that they kind of scan the headline. Do they know that what's written on that paper is for them? If somebody looks over my shoulder on my laptop when I'm sitting in a coffee shop and they just see the headline as they're walking by, are they going to be interested in reading if they are a member of the target audience? So how well does your headline communicate to your target audience that this message is for them? Next up, B, benefit. How well does your headline convey the benefit of engaging with your selling message? It's not even necessarily the benefit of your product, although likely they are connected. So if it's a money-making product, the perceived benefit of engaging with the message is probably make more money. If it's a health product, it's probably the perceived benefit is something to do with health. If it is a relationship product, the perceived benefit is probably something to do with relationships, right? Or the flip side can often be true in terms of a benefit. So a benefit is often thought of as the positive thing that you're moving towards. The flip side of it could be the negative thing you're moving away from. So in the context of writing, whatever headline it is, conveying some kind of movement away from some tragedy situation or some terrible situation can also be a way to convey the benefit. So the focus may be on the negative, it may be on the positive, but still it is in reference to that movement away from something towards something. So that's what the benefit is. Audience, benefit, curiosity. If you give away everything in your selling message, in your headline, if you give away everything in your headline, well, your prospect is going to have no reason to engage further. And so, for example, if you were to say, if you were to create some big promotion about income stocks, right? Just using an example. It's a big message about income stocks, but you decided to put basically your offer for your income stock newsletter in your headline. My income stock newsletter is 50% off for the next 7 days. Okay, there's like no curiosity in that. It's just like it's telegraphing that the whole purpose of this entire message is just to sell you this 50% off. And there are contexts where that might make sense. So for example, someone is already engaged and just ready for a deal because they know who you are, they're interested in your work, they're following you. Well, running a little sale, my income stock newsletter is 50% off for 7 days might actually be great. But having a big promotion around that and having long copy, especially around that, doesn't make sense. It is much stronger if you're going to any kind of an audience that's even lukewarm or cooler or cold, to have just something like what sector can you find the top 10 index stocks in today? Or what are the top 10 index stocks on the US markets? What are the top 10 index stocks for investors to buy now? Why is this income stock also set to deliver big gains in the next 12 months? I don't know. I'm just coming up with bad headlines off the top of my head, just trying to capture this curiosity element, right? The whole point is you want someone to read your headline and they have to read more if they're interested in the main topic and they are a member of the audience. Okay, so if our goal of the headline is to get readership, and we're going to use the ABC headline formula to make sure that all of our content really checks off those boxes in terms of what needs to go in the headline to get someone's attention and to pull them into the message. How do we turn this general idea of these things that need to happen into one great headline? Well, let me go through a little process with you. Number one, start with ABC. Start with ABC. So understand your audience. What result do they most want that your offer can help them get, that your message can help them get? Talk who is your audience and what do they want, right? Understand your audience. Talk to your audience. Figure out who your audience is and what they want. Okay? Next up, define your benefit. So what specific benefit tied to the desired result can you promise in your headline? So they want some desired result and your product's going to help them get that desired result. What can you promise in your headline related to the benefit tied to your offer, right? And it's probably going to fit under one of the 3 big idea types that I teach in my high velocity copywriting program. It's going to solve an urgent problem. It's going to introduce a 10x opportunity, or it's going to make an imminent prediction that is going to lead to an urgent problem situation or a 10x opportunity situation. So market change, just going with financial because I'm talking about it a lot. A market change can create an urgent problem for investors, or a market change can create a 10x opportunity for investors if that market change is coming quickly, right? Or you can just focus in more directly on the urgent problem or 10x opportunity, but those are the 3 big idea types, and they most likely are going to be tied to your solution and your benefit in some way, shape, or form. So we know our audience, we know our benefit. Now, how do we provoke curiosity? How can you hide the mechanism by which they'll get the result? So that is, you don't necessarily make it clear what you are talking about in your promotion. So one type of headline and lead that has been used quite a bit in financial is like a secret promotion. And typically what happens with this is there's some kind of nominalization of some particular event that we're going to give a new name to, or some particular investment type that we're going to give a new name to is the thing that we're going to focus on in the headline. And because nobody knows what this new name is, if we talk about all the benefits of it, they kind of have to read the rest of the promotion. That's hiding the mechanism by which they'll get the result. Same thing is used in health promotions and other things. It's like some new name, some nominalization for something. It creates this sense of secrecy around what is being delivered. And if you can talk about that in the promotion, that's a great way to pique curiosity. You can also just use a strange or interesting detail. And for this, I'm thinking John Carlton's one-legged golfer. So John Carlton, obviously it was golf, golf, golf in the headline, so the audience knew who it was. The benefit was something about smashing drives down the fairway, straight down the fairway, whatever. So your friends in your golf party would just drop their jaws in amazement. But then there was this strange or interesting detail about the one-legged golfer. And it was specific and it was true to that message. And so what strange or interesting detail can you find? Those are just a couple ways that you can provoke curiosity in your headline. But think about the different ways that you can essentially just not tell the whole message in the headline, or provoke their curiosity in some other way to get them to stop and want to read more. Now, we've been thinking about the audience, we've been thinking about the benefit, we've been thinking about the curiosity. It's time to just capture ideas. If you're feeling super inspired, just write your one great headline. Sometimes I sit down and I have the idea and I just write the headline, right? And maybe there's going to be some editing later on, but sometimes that's what I do. Or write 5 or 25 or 100 headlines. Write what it takes. Grab the old headline formulas and start to use those as brainstorming tools. Write a whole bunch of headlines, knowing that you don't have to keep any of them, but there might be some gold in there that you can grab onto, right? So write a bunch of headlines, just capture ideas, think about the audience, think about the benefit, think about the curiosity. How can I just get a whole bunch of ideas on paper, and even come out of left field with it. Jot down a couple of unexpected ideas too. Stansberry had promotion called End of America, and it was absolutely huge in 2009, 2010, 2011, and they just used that classic warning may be offensive to some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Now that's a completely left field headline idea, and it worked really well. I don't know how many headlines they tested against it, but it was working really well. And what may have failed in terms of audience and benefit, it certainly made up for in terms of curiosity. So that's an example of ABC doesn't have to necessarily apply to every headline, but I'm sure that they tested some headlines that worked pretty well that also checked off the ABC boxes. And in particular, that offer was a pretty wide audience offer. And I'm certain that near the beginning of that promotion, they conveyed some sense of the benefits as well. So if you're gonna miss any parts of the ABC, make sure you make up for that in the first couple lines of copy. So at this point, if you're following along, you thought about the ABC, you thought about the benefits, you jotted down a bunch of ideas, you came up with some crazy ideas too. You should have a whole document full of potential headline ideas. Now it's time to edit, and keep editing. You can combine them, you can mix and match them. You can save some for later. You can just play with the ideas a whole bunch, aiming to make it clearer, more concise, more bold. Every word of your headline and headline complex, which is all of the words around the headline, subheads, preheads, etc. Every word should matter, right? And you should find ways to edit down, because you want something to just jump off the page, and you want it to be clear, you want it to be instantly understandable. You want to put in line breaks that kind of break up any idea chunks that you want to put together. But the whole goal here is to spend a bunch of time knowing how powerful headlines are, working through lots of ideas until you get the one that just really resonates. And then put it in context. So if you haven't started writing the copy, then you have to write from the headline and say, okay, here's the next sentence and the next sentence that makes sense, that's all connected back to the headline, without probably giving away too much of the curiosity too early. You want to push that readership down into your selling message. Or if you have already written the copy, go back and make sure that when you put this headline on the top of the promotion, the next sentence makes sense and it feels connected, right? And so the process of writing one great headline or writing a persuasive headline or whatever is all about this identifying, what's actually going to stop my audience in their tracks, and what's going to make them want to read, and what is going to connect with what they really want, and how can I represent that on paper. And a lot of times it's going to be a process of just getting a bunch of ideas out and then working through them until you have the thing that works, or even better, a couple that work that you could test against each other and see which work best. All right, so let's see. Check out the links in the description to the 13 Essential Copywriting Skills video series. It's free. You just sign up for it and you get fundamental lessons in effective, especially direct response copy, where you get paid for generating results. And if you have a question that you'd like to have answered, that link's in the description below as well too. Ask Roy your question. And I'm Roy Furr. This is Breakthrough Marketing Secrets. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I do this every day. I'll see you again in the next episode. See you soon. Bye. Thank you once again for tuning in to this daily episode of Breakthrough Marketing Secrets. Remember, check out the links with this episode for even more value. Now make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, and engage in every way you can to keep this show going and growing and delivering daily value to you. I'll catch you soon for your next big breakthrough.